Welcome everyone to Stock Talk Thursday. It is February 24th. We've got a lot to talk about in the market, but before we pull up the chart, let's go ahead and just remind everyone, if you've got some comments or questions, feel free to throw those in the comment box there, both Facebook or YouTube, whichever one you're joining us from should be able to have that capability. Love to hear from you, would love to interact with you. Definitely makes it a better experience for all of us, and love to answer some of your questions. So let's take a look at the chart and let's see what's been going on with everything. As you know, lots of craziness going on in the world right now, and the market definitely did reflect that as well. So let's just do a quick overview, and then let's jump into this right here. So last Thursday, we had this big candlestick down coming up after the M, followed through, little kiss goodbye action, and then we just kept moving down and moved down several days in a row. And then obviously a big gap down overnight last night with the news, unfortunately, of Russia invading the Ukraine. But the market did rally quite a bit up. And so that was kind of an interesting move, honestly, I felt. But, let's look at where it moved up to. This 4,300 level area that's been so, important in the last several months. Back in September, October, had support there at the 4,300 level. Support once again about a month ago. And so we're moving right back up there. That almost looks like it's just moving back up to previous support, now resistance, and then potentially a move back down. So we'll just kind of have to see what happens there. I've said it the last several Thursdays because it has been true, and it is, even more true now. We are in a squirrel market. Things are volatile, and that can make it very difficult as traders, but it can, as a trader, be a good thing if you have the right skills. If you have the right skills and you know how to use that volatility to your advantage, it definitely can help you out there. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at last week's what was hot and what was not. And then let's take a look at what is hot and not this week. And then we'll wrap up. So last week we had Newell Brands as the hot stock. And if you remember, we weren't looking at this stock as what was hot for the last several months or anything. We were looking specifically at that week. And last week, that stock was really hot. Had a good earnings report there. So he blew it out of the water by 30% or something like that. And then raced up here. And honestly, so it has pulled back down. It definitely has not been hot this last week, but with a massive move up like that, oftentimes a stock is going to pull back some. And you add in the fact that the market tone overall has been negative. It only makes sense that it would have moved down as well, with the news that has been coming out. So that's Newell. It was hot. It's not hot anymore. Let's take a look at PayPal. PayPal was our not hot stock. And, by now you guys know enough to look at this one. It's obviously still not hot. It's getting bogged down by the 5-day. That's probably one of the best indicators, of something that's either really hot, if it's just riding the 5-day, and not even wanting to play below the 5-day line, or in this case, it's just staying below. It's like the 5-day just keeps pushing it down. It doesn't even give it a chance to come up above the 5-day for air or for a breath or anything like that. That's a sign of it not being hot. So, PayPal, it's been moving down for, the last 6 months for sure. And then we had this pretty sizable gap down on the last earnings report, even though they didn't miss. And since then, we have not seen anything above the 5-day. It's just been getting pushed down, 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 down. So that's your what's not hot stock from last week. Still is not hot. Now, remember, I threw in a bonus one last week. And this was kind of a last-minute decision because it was I found it interesting. Last week, I noticed, gold. also hot. We don't necessarily talk about precious metals often on Stock Talk Thursday, but I thought it was worth a mention. And we were discussing this, cup and handle looking pattern and the explosion up, and gold still holding its own. Obviously, it's with a big move up, it wants to rest, right? But it has not. You remember Newell. Coming back to Newell, it made that nice move up and it fell back down. Gold made the nice move up and is holding its own. Obviously, today, a lot of volatility going on as well. But we could put, now that we have some more information here, we could put a line right in there. Whoops, didn't take. There we go. We can put a little line right in there, maybe some new support. So potentially we continue sideways a little bit, and then we could look to move up from there. So that's gold, still holding its own and holding, showing to be pretty hot. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what is hot this week. And for this one, we have South Jersey Industries. Take a look at this. Now, you look at the last year, it's kind of sideways, right? I mean, actually, this could be pretty hot if you consider that rolling stock idea that I gave you several weeks ago. But just sideways, not really moving up a whole lot until boom, look at today. Massive gap up on earnings. We don't have the exact numbers yet populated in the box there as far as what earnings were, but whether it was the earnings report or the forecast of the next quarter or both, the market liked something, obviously, because this is a major move up. We started yesterday, or I'm sorry, we closed yesterday, below $24, and here we are closing today, close to $33. So that is a huge move up. And let's take a look at why did it go up to that line? Sometimes I think, okay, so it liked the earnings report and it moved up. Why did it go to that price right there? And so you got to sometimes look back into history and you'll find the answer. And look at where we stopped today. We closed today right around $33. And you trace that line all the way back to 2019, early 2020. Look at this resistance line right here. SJI has been up in this range before. It did it several years ago, and it's coming back to these previous price points. So we can go ahead now and just take a horizontal line and just with one click, just drop that in there, and boom, it populates that resistance right there. And now we have that to look at here as well. Come back to our normal 6-month chart that we're looking at. It's sitting perfectly right there. So now the question is, what's it going to do from here? Is it going to break this line, or is it going to, just kind of ride it, or is it going to move down? And obviously, we don't know the answer to that. But from a trader's perspective, this can be a tough one to trade unless you have the right skills again. This is a pattern that we look for within the tradeway system. We look for patterns where things, just go a little bit crazy, and we see these massive gaps because there are opportunities in there, and we teach those opportunities. So this is definitely one I'm going to be looking at, and if I see the right thing, it could be potentially an exciting opportunity. Honestly, whether it goes up or down, there's different patterns that I'm going to be looking at to consider. So massive move up. Obviously, SJI is hot. We'll have to see if that continues. So I'm actually looking forward to next week already to revisit this particular one to see if it still is hot. So that is SJI. All right, let's take a look at our not hot stock for the day. That's going to be Yndx. Yndx. So yesterday we closed at right around $35 and had a massive gap down and closed right around 20. Now, here's the thing with Yndx. Honestly, I had no idea what Yndx was. It's a ticker that gap down a bunch, and it was already looking pretty bearish, looking not hot, and then boom, just this massive drop down. So I had to look it up, and I'm going to read this for you. A little bit of a mouthful, but we'll just break it down. So Yndx is a multinational corporation primarily for Russian and Russian language users, providing 70 internet-related products and services, including transportation, search and information services, e-commerce, navigation, mobile applications, and online advertising. So that's a whole lot of words, but I just got one thing out of that, right? I mean, it's a multinational corporation for Russian and Russian language users, and doing a little more research into the company. It's based in Moscow. And you look at what's been happening in the news with Russia invading the Ukraine. A lot of people, a lot of companies might say, we're done doing business with Russian companies, so I definitely don't want this to turn political, but sometimes politics influence what's happening in the stock market. That's just the reality. And sometimes we need to just be somewhat aware of what's going on politically or in the world, because it does affect things on the chart. We are seeing this play out on the chart. Within this chart specifically here, this massive gap down, that was is about a 50%. What I have here, about a 50% drop from yesterday's close to today's open. That's significant. That is significant. So that's why this stock is not hot at all. Some more stats on here. It's been it lost 40% valuation since we did Stock Talk Thursday last week. Last week's Stock Talk Thursday, right in here. Now we're down here. So that is 40%. It's worth 40% of what it was last week when we were having this conversation. So, and then of course, it's worth even less than 25% of what it was back in November when we were trading up here around $86. So big drops, of course. It was even downtrending beforehand. And, a question, well, we looked at SJI prior, and there was this massive gap up, and you're saying there's patterns out there we can trade that. What about this one? Absolutely. This one, absolutely. There are ways to trade this. There are patterns. There are edges you can have even with this type of a stock right here, with the moves that it's making, if it falls through and we see what it wants to do. So, if the right circumstances come about, there are tradable patterns when you have a big move down like this. And things have been very news driven lately, and we actually have a course called News Moves. That one has been getting a lot of traction lately, obviously, because so much of the market lately has been so newsy. So that is your not hot stock for the day, Yndx. We'll be revisiting this one next week as well to see what it has been up to. If you want to learn more about these strategies, these ways that we trade the markets, the patterns, or how we approach the market when things around the world are seeming bleak, feel free to email us at support@tradeway.com. We'd love to get some more information to you, because we'd love to help you learn if that's something that you're interested in. Final thing I'll say, in regards to what we just talked about here with, the invasion, let's be in prayer. I know many of you watching are believers and prayer warriors. So let's be in prayer for, the people in the Ukraine, for the entire situation, for the world leaders out there making difficult and challenging decisions. Let's just be in prayer, because this world needs it. So I'm going to leave you with that. We're going to see you next week on Thursday for Stock Talk Thursday. We'll visit, SJI and Yndx again, see how they're doing, and then we'll see what's hot and what's not next week. So thank you guys for being on, and we'll see you next week.